that constantly seeking more efficiency by humans. Once again, we are the evolutionary mechanism for these narrow AI agents.
Thank you. Okay, Bob Kopek, where are you? Over there.
Everybody over here.
Okay, so now it's the Unabomber. Ted Kaczynski, remember Ted Kaczynski? I think he's still in prison, right? He said at some point pulling the plug will be more dangerous than leaving it running.
Oh, that's a perfect
example. Is it too late yet?
Oh, I would think to pull the plug, definitely.
We could pull the plug.
Oh, I don't know. You've got a lot of people, all of the systems that feed everybody. You know when there's a news story saying there's a storm coming, and then suddenly you go down to the supermarket and there's like no food on the shelves? It kind of shows how razor thin the margin is. So if somebody starts unplugging these things, even just distributing food would not go so well. So that's why I'm saying it's difficult to unplug it. It would be disruptive, but I don't think we can unplug the internet. We have to grow something else alongside it.
So he was right. It's too late.
Oh, it's too late.
I mean, we live.
That was my long-winded English major way of saying, oh, it's too late. Right.
So, I mean, does this imply that we ought to have changes in laws, government policies? Somebody wrote this but didn't put their name on it. What would help prevent bot-enabled oppression? Who wrote this question? A bot, obviously, right?
Yeah,
it's trying to figure out what you're going to say and figure out the attack against it. All right, so this.
So it occurred to me that when I was talking about tracking,
it's like Sappho bot.
Well, no, good. No, is the writing neat?
Yes, it is. And in fact, you're right. It does actually look like Sappho.
So what was the question again?
The question was, what are there laws, policies that we ought to be considering to prevent the ultimate takeover?
I would say the one policy that would help is many hands coding and having involvement and say in how things are constructed. And I think right now, very much big business runs things and efficiency drives big business. So until those laws are changed that put business interest ahead of pretty much all other interests, I find it hard to believe that things could change.
So as long as we're really just trying to optimize the kind of effectiveness of society, how it's all working smoothly, that our money goes where it wants, the goods goes where it's supposed to, the electricity runs the way it's supposed to, the telephone networks runs the way it's supposed to. It's all of that we're trying to optimize. Why then there's nothing we want to change, right?
Except when a disruption happens. That becomes more like a house of cards after a while. And we've seen disruptions before in power supplies and other things. Back when many people owned these things individually and they were all competing against each other, I think you would have a hard time bringing the power grid down because these people didn't connect it to each other. But now that it's a vast monoculture, a tree falls on the wrong thing and the whole damn thing goes down. So, that would be one example.
Max, back there. So, if you were a Marxist, what you would argue
Which I'm not.
is, and I'm not saying
I
you're
own a
Marxist,
corporation,
but you may or may not be, but this is a classic Marxist argument. So what about the notion that humanity must first be oppressed in order to revolt? That, in fact, the bots are part of the natural order that will lead to further human evolution because they are, in fact, our natural, since we are,
opponent.
in fact, we're people with higher brains. We have to create competitors with, in effect, higher brains to force us to evolve. Guys with bigger muscles aren't, we're not going to outcompete tigers and lions and
I sense a cycle coming there.
Yeah, right. So is this really about us creating our natural predator to be able to evolve?
That's an interesting question.
Is that the sense of your question?
Did he get it right? I suppose that's possible, although that kind of reduces it to this futile gesture, building a civilization, just to then build something to destroy it. But I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, and it's a pretty philosophical question.
Well, another philosophical question.
Oh, good.
So what's left for humanity to do once our basic needs are met by bots? Is it just writing more bots?
Well, then you get to the question of what are we here for? If society is going to run without us, I imagine we'd start killing each other pretty quickly. I do think humans need challenges, and I think if everybody's involved in trying to make society enjoyable for the maximum number of people, I think we're nowhere near to solving that problem, so that would give us plenty to do. And I think just making it supremely efficient would make it really good for just a tiny number of people. So that's kind of where I was heading.
So suboptimum's better?
Yeah, it might be, because how many Gulfstream 5 jets do you need, You have one.
I'll take one.
Okay.
Okay. So you showed us something on screen that I thought was actually quite powerful. The image of the urban environment today that we all inhabit, and the array of sensors within which we live, and the array of networks connected to those sensors, and the capacity to understand, manage, manipulate, distribute the data in very, very rich ways. So, there once was a time when we lived in such an environment. It was called a village, and the sensors were the eyeballs and the ears of our neighbors, right?
Well, that's a
and
reputation
and
system.
so on, and so we, we lived in a not bot-mediated, but human-mediated sensory reality in which we had no privacy, right? Privacy is a new phenomenon. It was partially an urban phenomenon or a really rural phenomenon. You lived out in the boonies, or you could live in an apartment. Nobody knew who you were, what you did. You could walk the streets, and you could be anonymous, and so on. So privacy is a really new thing. You've described a world in which privacy is over. Is privacy over?
I hope it can make a comeback. But the thing is, you talked about a village, and when you're walking around in a village, if people look at you, you see them looking at you. And I think the big problem now is people are looking at you, but you have no idea who or how many people or what they're doing with the data, especially if you see some of the algorithms that place you in certain categories that would just amaze you. But it's because they're examining you, and they might know you, that is the developers of these algorithms, better than you know yourself. So I think it's a very different thing. I mean, sure, it involves privacy, but I think it takes it to a whole new level, and it puts it behind this veil where you have no knowledge of what's going on behind the scenes.
So it's okay for your neighbors to know, but it's not okay for...
They wouldn't know either.
Pardon?
No humans individually, I think, would know. I think big corporations and organizations that are mining this data for patterns would know.
Is there anything we can do to change that?
Or
is it really a done deal?
Well, right now it's a done deal until there are major changes legislatively to do that. And I think that's tough.
I mean, for example, what could you do? And when you think about legislation?
Well, you could say you need to declare. You need to tell people. And, you probably get these privacy notices. Don't you love the way you get them every year? You're like, no, this year, I'm fine. You can take all my data. And they make you fill it out every year. They'll wear you down eventually.
Okay. So we a number of times here at Long Now, we've had the rise of the arts, challenging some of the ideas that we've seen in the world of the sciences and technology. So, we think about the tinfoil hat to protect ourselves. We all remember when there were pyramids and so on to protect ourselves from the bad vibes.
The pyramids didn't save the Egyptians.
It didn't save the Egyptians. But is there some defense mechanism that an individual who tries to opt out of the network, in effect, can do? No.
I think right now, if you don't want to be Amish, I think probably not. Because, you need a cell phone. Otherwise people look at you weird. But not now.
I don't think that's what, Stefan Hoyer, where are you, Stefan? But I don't think that's what you really, you meant using art as a kind of conceptual defense against a kind of uniform mediated reality. Is that what you meant?
Interesting. I would think the only defense against this type of thing is, once again, many hands building it. Because then many hands would be informed about it. And I guess it could be considered a big art project at that point. Everybody creating their own interpretation of what society should be, and other people interacting with it. I think is that answering your question at all, I hope?
Well, I was wondering to what extent bots can pass themselves off as humans if they can't create art. Art is another...
Art bots.
Art bots. I'll bet if you go to Google and type in art bots, you'll probably find a whole club.
Well, in fact, there's a wonderful book by one of our friends, Pamela McCorda, called Aaron's Code. I think that was the title.
So it's like fractals in a way. It's just
Aaron's
repeating
Code
patterns?
was about, in fact, art bots making
Interesting.
art.
Okay, there's the answer to that.
It's a few years old. So it exists. The art bots are already out there. Fan question.
Sure.
Okay. So what do you hope for from the movie?
No, I got to be careful what I say here. Let's see. No casting choices here.
No. We did Tom Cruise already.
Okay. Good. I hope they don't mess it up, and I hope they leave some subtlety in it. But I have good hopes for it. I do.
And the sequel? Those of you who don't, a painful fact, this is a spoiler, this is only Volume 1.
That's right.
There's a sequel coming.
Fair warning.
And we are anxious for it. When do we get the sequel?
You'll have to talk to Dutton about that. Because I was going to release it in November, but now this is going to be released January. So sometime after that.
Is-
So I hope that doesn't
have
piss
you written
anybody
it
off. Most of it.
Most of it.
Most
any,
of it.
Any hints?
Yeah, you'll like
You'll
it.
like it. Yeah, my wife says
That's
that.
it.
Yeah, right. Any hints?
No hints. No hints. Maybe you, but I don't want to put it out. It's just,
All right. Thank you, Daniel Suarez.
my pleasure. Thank you.